All ready, Cap?
Alrighty.
Town's strength is that it's a beautiful town. You have wonderful school systems here, and you have a wonderful, wonderful religious community through all denominations. My name is Stan McLean, live in Barnstable for 80 years.
You sure?
Absolutely, 1928. I like most about Barnstable is the fact that my folks in 1920 moved to Barnstable from Nova Scotia. My father took up barbering, opened a barber shop here in 1923, and I come along 28, and the privilege of being a home like this and having a town like we have there. And we had 6 in our family, and 2 boys and 2 girls, and lost 2 brothers, and it's just a beautiful place to live, and I'm glad because when he was come from Nova Scotia, he worked on the coal mine, one of 15 children, and he was the second oldest. He had to support the family, come to the Cape, and started barbering, because if I was his son living in Nova Scotia, I'd be working on a coal mine, and I think it's a lot better to work here in barber shop in Hyannis that he started, and I've been here 61 years now cutting hair, so it's a very, very good place, and I've got a lovely family and grandchildren and everything else, and it's just a wonderful town to live in. You can't dislike the town of Barnstable. The growth has been steady, and the only thing that we do have here is they've killed years ago when Paul LaRusso wanted to start the Independence Park over there. It was going to bring a lot of work here to supply jobs for the young people and everything else. And the young fellows today growing up here now, when if you're not in the trades, there's not enough real industry to keep them going. And the biggest problem is today with the kids, back years ago, the kids could pick up a home that was fairly reasonable, and but now the cost of homes is so outrageous and out of hand, and it's just created a problem. The young people can't really survive too well now because the workload breaking down and everything else. That it's very difficult for the kids to grow up and work here, and the youngsters here. It's getting to be an expensive place to live. Town's strength is that it's a beautiful town. You have wonderful school systems here, and you have a wonderful, wonderful religious community through all denominations. And no matter whether you're Catholic, Protestant, Jews, or any other religion, they're all here, and they're very diversified. And yet from there you go into the hospitalization we have here. The school systems are fantastic, and they're starting to bring in the parochial schools, which is a great thing, and non-denominational schools. And the kids have a great opportunity here, and families appreciate it so much because families are bringing the kids up here, yet the family principal is working in Boston and everything else, but they want to bring the kids up in this atmosphere where they can go out and still ride a bike and go out and play ball and everything else. But it is changing a little bit, because when I was a kid growing up here, you could go to school and you had bald kids going back and forth to school. You walk from Ridgewood Avenue, where I was born, to the elementary school down here. You could walk down with baseball bats. We had over down on School Street, you had a ball field down there. We had one over in Lewis Street, Baboon Park, and you had one over in Centerville. And you had make-up baseball, but the kids were always willing to get out and have a lot of fun. But that has been taken away because everything is organized more. Some for the better, but not for the not. But there's an element that has moved in here and from other places, and the crime and the drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff has become quite rampant in some areas. And we've got a great police department, and we have a great school system, but everyone tries to keep it down the best they can, but the element does get in there, so it does makes a difficult situation for some of the things. But we have everything you have here is you can't ask for it anywhere else. I think it's just great, and to see the youngsters grow up from here and move away and then come back that's a great thrill because they still say this is the best place in the world to live. Happiest minute in Barnstable was when I got married and had my own children, and to carry on. And then the happiest thing here was the day that Jack Kennedy was in, got a haircut, and he was headed out to the West Coast, and he come back from the West Coast with a nomination. And to think that, you know, this town, small town like this, and being a Republican community and everything else, and to see Jack come back as, you know, a Democrat, which the Democrats were kind of scarce, and they, but to see him come back and go ahead and run for president of the United States, and all the hoopla, if you want to call it that, but to see all of the dignitaries from the ambassadors and everything else when they stayed down here, the headquarters down here, and to see the people around, and then see him become president, and the ambassadors and the different people come in, and they see that we were so close to him, to see him right by the shop or up Main Street, and the Secret Service and everything like that come along, and see his family grow up with John and the rest of the kids. It's quite a thrill. It's quite a thrill to see that happen.
So he came in before he went out to LA to get the nomination?
Yeah, he was in for that. He never came in after he got the nomination because Secret Service never around, but there was a time.
Well, they didn't trust you guys.
That's right. No, that wasn't the deal. It was but I mean, because he was a fellow off the street, all of the Kennedy, Bobby and Teddy and the rest of the family, because the girls used to come in the Hyannis Pharmacy. I worked over there, and Terry's Pharmacy, and the girls who would be in Eunice, and the rest of the girls come in there. They were just ordinary citizens. There was nothing great about it. And Kennedy's was, they were recognized by all of us as any other regular customer. There's nothing special about them, because until they become president of the United States, and old Joe was there with riding his horses around. But I mean, they were just like any other family in the port, you know, that we would recognize, and they look for no heirs or anything else. I mean, they were just common, ordinary people, but then, of course, everyone had their make on them, whether they liked them or disliked them. But I mean, as far as I was concerned, I think they contributed more to this town than a lot of families, and it still stays with us today. I think the saddest thing was the day that we're sitting here in the shop here, and a fellow come in from the cobbler down the street there, he sold, and he come running into the barber shop. He was over and said the president has been shot. I think that's the saddest thing that I can remember that day today. And I walked out of the shop here. We went over to the Mayflower restaurant there. Mr. Jokum was in there, and I said, "Is that right?" Because we just had the radio, and I come over, and you know, I think because it was as though you weren't. It was like part of your family. I mean, everyone you were proud of it. Coming in, even today, you know, look at the Kennedys and what they've done, and I mean, there's a lot of other families things, but I think that is the biggest single thing that really hit you as a young fellow, and then say, "Gee, the president, someone shot him." You know, it was just devastating. Yeah, Wequaca Lake, where I'm living for the last 55 years, you know, and being the able to move over the lake as a young fellow, newly married, and brought up 3 kids, and look out over the lake and see the people who've come down here and enjoy it between that and the having the kids grow up in the school system, and the Kennedy rink is another great thing for the kids to come by, and now to see the new center that they're building there now for the $23-odd million and 2 skating rinks and basketball thing. It's going to be a great thing for all of the youngsters. Absolutely. I would much like to see a better transportation system off the Cape, and I'd like to see a situation whereby there could be some industry brought in here to keep the young people around here. I just like the way the town of the Cape is run. I think it's people come here from other places, and they just seem very happy to be here because it's they're retirees, but there's everything for everybody if they want to come here. My name is Stan McLean, live in Barnstable for 80 years.
You sure?
Absolutely, 1928.
Very good.
February 15th.